Welcome to Kings TV, the voice of transformation. You are watching The Front Seat, and I am Isabella Kidede. The Front Seat is a show where we sit with leaders to hear their life journey and to draw practical wisdom from their life and their leadership journey. Today on the show, we have the privilege of having Don Moshigadi, who has joined us for the show. Asante sana Don, thank you for honoring the invite. So Don, for that viewer who is seeing you for the first time, who is Don? Tell us more about yourself.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here for this conversation and this program. I'm happy to be here. Let me start by saying that, first of all, I am a servant who has received the grace of God to be where I am today. I think the viewers have heard my name is Don Moshigadi, and I am a student of, let me say, Moi University. I have a degree in human resource management, and then I have been working in the private and the public sector for more than 12 years now combined. And I have been in that position able to learn about both administration and then also leadership. So I would say I'm a combination of both understanding public and private sector. And then what is the most biggest for me is that I have been given a calling through and by the grace of God to be able to minister, first of all, as a worship leader at City of Grace Church Boy, and then also to minister with my talent or ability in the area of leadership. So that's who I am in a nutshell. Yes.
Yeah. So Don, now about your family life. Are you married? Are you a father?
Yes, I left that out. Yes. Well, yes, I am married. Yes, I am a father to two beautiful children, David and Gloria, and my beautiful wife. I'm married to one wife who is a female. It is very good to
clarify
that I'm married to a female wife, and I was called Elizabeth, and we are blessed, yes, with two children. Yes. So that's as far as my relationship life goes.
So tell us about your leadership journey, especially in the field of the community.
Okay. Thank you. I would say that my leadership journey with the community did not even start here in Voi. I think it started way back when I was still in Nairobi, because that's where I did my education. And in that time, I was very much involved with community. We had a program called One Nation Kenya. One Nation Kenya at the time, we partnered with Boniface Wangi, who was doing this thing he was calling Slum Tani. It's like it was a civic education peace initiative. At the time, remember, it was after the 2007-2008 post-election violence. So in 2012, Boniface Mwangi, the activist, had a program that was going through slum areas. So in Kibera, Kangemi, and all those areas. So what we're doing video screenings. And in these screenings, we would go and speak to people and tell them about the dangers of turning one to another. So that sparked something within me and began a journey for me to start conversations with community, wanting to see community change. So I was happy to learn a lot from that, and then moved that now from me to want to desire to have a program that can be able to reach the community. So I moved then. Well, work moved me to Taita Taveta, where then now I got a platform to be able to do what I'm doing with community. So I started off by doing wildlife and environment conservation. We used to have an event which we used to call Novo Challenge. And in that event, we used to do sporting plus environment conservation. And we used to bring community together. So we did that for a while, and we got the attention of key stakeholders, of those people that we felt were important, and we planted trees and we were able to educate. And step by step, then gradually started also entering into now community work in terms of now bringing awareness of civic education. bringing people to understand governance. Now, this was primarily because at the time also I had shifted job and I started working now with the county government. And for me, while we were going around the county government doing the integrated development plans, you have moments whereby you're talking to community. So that also within it birthed now a desire to want to have a generation, my generation, especially understand more about leadership and governance. And so started the journey whereby now started partnering with institutions from around Taita Taveta University, the constitutional technology now is changes, Taita Taveta National Polytechnic. So just wanting to develop capacities of leadership within the young people. Yeah.
So in that journey that you have, led us through,
Yes.
what has been your most defining moment?
I would say the most defining moment has been when you are able to see people get enlightenment, when they understand and you see a change, a shift, especially in their understanding and then in their own personal development. I think for me, when you see that there has been progress in terms of the feedback that comes back to you, shows people have understood, people have developed, things have changed, then for me that is a defining moment. But what I would give as one of the most defining moments for me was when we were once we were doing a mentorship in a high school. I think it was Kajira Girls. And at that time when we were doing the talks to the young girls there, you would see a desire to want to change. Even after we have finished the talks, you would see them having a passionate desire to want to establish leadership capacities within themselves. That for me gave a heavy burden to make sure that we should be in the forefront of mentoring another generation that is going to come. Yeah.
So you have told us your key highlights, but we know that in every journey there must be challenges. And what would you say has been one challenge that stretched you the most, and what did it teach you? What did you learn from it?
Well, that's a good question. I think the most biggest challenge you experience is the challenge of your own growth in this journey, because as you do what you're doing, it impacts you. So, and to have that ability to keep on going, it gets to you. So I think for me the most biggest challenge has been to keep a consistency that requires your own personal development. So it means that you have to have a belief so strong that can affect the outside, because the outside, if you go there and you want to put a seed there, if you are not in a position to be of a higher capacity in terms of what you believe and what you can be able to achieve, then it can affect you, because maybe the reception that you get is not what you expected. So to have a consistency to keep on doing it, because sometimes, yes, it gets challenging. To keep on doing the events, and maybe you have funding constraints, maybe you don't get to see the way you actually wanted it, then it can actually bring a strain. You might think that probably this thing, well, it's not cut out for me. So to have that emotional ability, that mental strength, means that in your own personal, you have to have a very strong personal, let me say, grit or ability, so that you can be able to sustain. So I believe, for me, the most biggest challenge throughout all of this has been my personal growth and my personal development along the journey. Because as you teach people leadership, you have to be that leadership. I mean, you cannot speak something that you are
not. Exactly.
Yes. So every single time, it means if I speak about leadership, if I speak about how to want to change, if I speak about how to want to develop your own capacities from the inside, that means how you think and how you behave and how you relate to one another. I have to be those things first. You have to see those things in me. So then the challenge then requires is that the limitations that I have within me means I have to work on them. I have to consistently work on them until I get to that point that what I speak is exactly who I am.
Wow, that's a really deep reflection.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, we ask people challenges. It's about the external environment,
Exactly.
but now this is something that internally. How then does it really affect how you behave and who you are?
Yeah.
So you've mentioned that you are a worship leader. Christ is your personal savior.
Yes.
How has your faith impacted the way you lead, the way you make decisions, and the way you mentor the young people that you work with in the community?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I believe that one thing is that number one is that I believe that the anointing and the grace that I have received is for a specific purpose, and that specific purpose has to find expression. And for it to find expression, then that means I have to truly believe that I am called to a people. So my faith and how I view myself, first of all, as a worshiper, is that whatever I bring to God is something that I would want Him to be pleased with, something that I would want Him to hear. There was a time I believe I was at the altar and I was leading worship and I finished and God told me, you have led my people to worship me. Now stick with me and see what I will do for you. So then came the many, I have never told anybody, I think this is the first time I'm going to say it on camera, that I've never told anybody. There's a period in my life whereby I kept consistently having dreams with presidents. Every single time, dreams with presidents. I was having dreams with Uhuru Kenyatta at that time, and every time he would be in a position whereby he knows me. Like he keeps asking me, where have you been? We have been waiting for you. So even when Uhuru left, I thought the dreams would end. But I continued having the same consistent dreams even now with the current president. And I kept asking God, what is this? So most times as worshippers or people or Christians who are in church, we feel like we cannot be able to affect a generation or people outside the church. But I feel like what we have received as an anointing or as a grace is meant to impact nations. So what I carry, I present it to God in worship, and then I use the same instrument to now affect the nation, affect the people. Once you get your calling in terms of what you are supposed to do, you're supposed to run with the mandate. You're supposed to take the mandate and just do what you have to do. So for me, my faith has been very important, especially in doing the leadership that I'm doing, because I take every single part of leadership as something God-given. When God was beginning from the beginning, God was into leadership. You would see it from creation, in fact. It shows out the way He does. He's methodical about day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. That already shows you how much He's a prioritized leader. He makes sure that every single day there is something to get done. You see delegation in Him when He speaks to Adam and He tells him, name and do all this that needs to be done. So you see, okay, God is also can delegate some authority and give people who are under Him authority. So that's something that we're supposed to learn. So everything about leadership, you see, first of all, in God. And then you take that and you embody that, and then you use it now to say, okay, God, if leadership then comes from me, then help me use this with the faith that I have to be able to impact nations. Every single time I get an opportunity to speak to people, I usually tell God that I'm not going to waste their time. I'm not going to waste people's time, and I'm going to do whatever that I have to do according to the grace that has been given to me to speak something positive, a seed of greatness into their lives. So my faith, I believe, has been very much important, especially in guiding the leadership journey, because I have read a lot about other, to just go through the leadership journey of understanding. I've read books from John Maxwell, I've read Napoleon Hill, I've read Jim Rohn. I've been hearing, and one consistent pattern is that they keep on referencing to Jesus Christ. They keep on referencing to God as a pattern man that shows about leadership. They speak about Jesus Christ. And this is the most funniest thing. You never expect, but if you read the books, they will keep on referring to Jesus Christ and how Jesus Christ in his sermons, he was teaching about leadership, he was teaching about personal development, and he was teaching about all these things that somebody needs to have. So my faith plays a very strong role, just to answer you, that my faith plays a very strong role in being able to dispense whatever wisdom and grace that God has given.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you for that very deep answer, and that prayer that you make, that every time I stand and talk, it shouldn't be in vain. And I hope you made that prayer before coming to the studio. Amen. So in your view, when now we come to influence and impact, because as a leader, there's a place for influence and there's a place for impact, especially on the people you lead. And even knowingly or unknowingly, there are people who look up to you. And there are people who say, don't, you're my mentor. Some you don't know, some you know. How does that affect, leadership today, especially in the society?
The first thing I learned from my mentor, Jim Rohn, is that he says, you can only, first of all, do leadership when you lead yourself. You can only influence and impact, first of all, yourself. Then you can do for others. So when it comes to influencing and impact, there is yes, as you were saying, that there is a place for influence and then there is a place for impact. Influence is highly dependent on your personal growth and your personal development. The much you are able to influence is by, first of all, the grace of God. If and when you see yourself excelling and being lifted, be careful to be in a position whereby you can be of a positive role model, because in you is the ability to affect nations. So it then requires that your abilities, your capabilities, your own character, your development in your own self personally has to be of the highest standard, because you are able to draw people to you. You see the verse that says, kings shall come to your light and Gentiles to the brightening of your dawn. The Gentiles come to the light and then kings to the brightening of your dawn. This is because there is an awareness that comes into you that causes an influence. Now, if you see that happening in your life as a Christian, or even as just any other person, your first most priority is to be able to, first of all, gain knowledge so that you direct the people in the right way. That is influence. So you gain knowledge on exactly probably your area of influence. You gain knowledge especially on your own self and development so that you can be of a very good role model, so that you can be a good mentor. So it means that then there is that which you work from yourself within, and then there is that which you have to understand from where you are, so that you do not become of a wrong character. There are people who have influence. Some people do not understand why they have the kind of influence that they have. And like you're speaking about this current age. This is a current age whereby you see there is a lot of abilities for people to gain followers. You look at social media, you look at TikTok. The more you post, the more people get to follow you. You can get somebody has 20,000 people following. And sometimes, we look at this thing and we brag and we say, I have 20,000 followers. I have this. But what is the influence that you are putting out? Because remember, at the end of this, at the end of our journey, at the end of all of this, you stand counted before God. You stand counted before God, and God is going to ask you with what you had as a platform. What exactly did you do? How did you help yourself with that platform? How did you help others with that platform? And how did people know God with and through that platform? So you stand with, there is a form of accountability. So that in itself should put responsibility on yourself. And then on impact is that what people are supposed to understand is that impact comes with the revelation of exactly who you are and the people that you are called to, so that the impact can be successful according to God's will. So you find that in your area of where God has called you, you need to understand and quickly get a developing that God has called you to undertake a certain activity, and the impact is not for your own self. The impact is for a greater glory. So the quicker you understand that your impact is not just for your own personal self, it is for a greater glory, then you will work on yourself to be able to make sure that you have impact that is according to God's will.
How then do you even measure that impact? How then do you know that, my leadership is effective?
Yes.
Especially today, when people are seeking validation from social media platforms, how then would you measure and say, this is effective leadership? What does effective leadership look like today?
Yes. Effective leadership, I would say if you want to measure it, is you look at the transformation journey. What you are able to count and say, these people are changed, these people are transformed. Sometimes it varies, well, based on the kind of sectors that you're in. I usually, when we do the meetings that we do, even the ones that I call, I usually do what we call impact assessment. How many people have we reached with the services that we have? How many people have received those services? Then through that, even through a number, you can just measure, okay, this much we have been able to do. When you go probably and you're doing, say you are teaching people about servant leadership, and you're trying to measure what is the level of impact that we're having here. Look at the transformation. Make sure that you're following up with these people so that you see, are their minds transforming? Are their personal capabilities and developments transforming? Then you know you are actually doing impact. And then another sure way by the Spirit of God to know that you're actually doing impact is that whatever small you start with, there is a multiplication.
Amen.
Immediately you start seeing that there is a multiplication. No. Then what you are doing, yes, you're hitting the code correctly, and that there is impact. Because the way God is that He will always start with a small measure and then consistently grow it bigger and bigger and bigger.
We are going on a break. We'll be right back. Please don't leave. Welcome back to the program, The Front Seat. We are still with our guest, Don Moshigadi, who is continuing to spit wisdom on his leadership journey and his impact, and he's telling us his story of influence. Karibu sana Don, tuendelee. So how do you balance, your leadership with your spiritual journey? You're a parent, you're an executive director, you are a mentor. How then are you able to balance all that?
Yes. First of all, I think it's by the grace of God. That's one. The second thing is that you have to be really intentional. I'm learning this also as well, that you truly have to be intentional in what you want to do, schedule the time for it, block any other thing that can be a distraction, and then put in what you want to achieve before the day ends. So it has to be something that you do structurally, and then you have to consistently do it every other time, like every other morning. I look at what I'm doing and say, what do I have to do for ministry today? What do I have to do for, say, my executive work with servant leadership? What do I have to do for business? What do I have to do for family? You put these things down as a note, and you say, one leadership act I will do concerning ministry. One leadership act I will do concerning my work with servant leadership. One leadership activity that I will do. Then I look at maybe one wealth activity that I must do. So you find within the day you have scheduled exactly what you want to do. That's the only way you can be able to balance it. If you put it out and put notes and actually say, today I must execute 1, 2, 3, 4. So that by the end of the day, you sit down and ask yourself, did this happen? Did this execute? Yes, I executed. Did this execute? I executed. Did this execute? No. Why? So you have to also evaluate yourself and ask yourself, why did you not achieve what you wanted to achieve? So I think that's very much important in trying to balance, because if you do not have that form of balance, you'll not be able to do it. And this is important because I draw it back to God, because God, you try to look at your life and then you look at God. Try put yourself in the shoes of God. God is managing and handling 8 billion people in this planet. God still has to manage heaven. God has to orchestrate end time. So he has to also know what demons are doing. So can you imagine that level of planning that
Multitasking.
has to be there? And now you see we are made in his image and his likeness. So that means then that if that ability is in him, it is in me.
Wow.
So then that means then for me to be able to balance 4 activities, to God, you are not doing
You're
it.
struggling.
Yeah, and you see there's a verse in the Bible, I'm just paraphrasing, that in the day of adversary, if your strength is found small, then it is indeed small, then you're indeed weak. Means if you are weak, you are weak. So it is like it is a requirement for you to be that person, meet those targets, be that individual, balance that life. So, and the only way you can be able to show God that you are a vessel that can take in more is that if you're able to balance whatever He has given you. So if you see if He sees your capacities, if you have been given family, you have been given other ones that
A business.
Community, you've been given business, you've been given this. God is seeing that in you there is the ability to do it. So what you're supposed to do is supposed to sit down and say, fine, heaven has given me this. So for me is to be able to sit down and do one thing, create a system. And that is the way you do it, because you have to understand that even when God did creation, He created a system. When He created Adam and Eve, He finished it by making sure that there is a system in Eve and Adam that can make sure procreation happens. So He doesn't do it again. So creation is finished for Him. When He established things to do with leadership and whatnot, He created a system. He created a system through Moses. He created a system through Saul. When God does something, He does it in totality. And one way He does it easily is through creating a system. So even for you as an individual, for me now also is how I balance is that I create a system. And this system ensures then that I consistently do what I need to do at the time that I need to do it to meet the goals that I need to make.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Create a system, because God, is also systematic. And, if God is balancing 8 billion people, balancing, how to deal with orchestrating the end times, and we are created in His image, then we have the capability to really balance whatever God has placed in our hands. If it's family, if it is work, our spiritual life, our leadership roles that we have. That is indeed very deep. So we have now on the issue of mentorship and emerging leaders. Many young and emerging leaders look up to you. So what are those common mistakes that you see in new leaders?
First of all, when we define leadership, we define leadership from a standpoint of we're not necessarily talking about positions as such, but inherently as individuals, because in each and every person is a capacity to lead, and God Himself is a leader. So in each and every individual there is leadership that is required. So the challenge is that one thing, or the mistake is that people believe that leadership is associated with a position, that you have to be in a position first and then now manifest some form of leadership. Which if that happens, then you are going to manifest very wrong things. It's wrong leadership. It's not even the right thing, because that person has associated leadership with a position. Yet leadership has to begin from oneself. That's why I was talking about personal development. That's why you see my mentor Jim Brown keeps speaking about you cannot be able to lead people if you cannot be able to lead yourself. So the first misconception or mistake is that people feel or people have is that leadership is associated with a position. Then the mistake that they make is that they want to assume roles of leadership from the standpoint of the position itself. So everything that they embody is not them. Is only based on that position. So you find that if they're not in that position, then they feel like they're not leaders.
Then
they don't wear that cap when they're not there. And that is the problem that you have even with now people that sit on leadership. That's why you see people manifest different things like pride, people manifest different things like theft, like all these vices that come about. It's because you did not deal with it, first of all, from the standpoint of you as a personal individual, to understand that you have leadership capacities in you, and then also understand what leadership is. then that is the most biggest, I think that is after not associating them, the leadership with the titles. The other thing I think, which is a big mistake, is that people do not understand what leadership is. And if you do not understand what leadership is, then you make the vital mistake of assuming leadership. And when you assume leadership, then you enter leadership with a thought pattern that leadership is about command, being able to direct, being able to rule. It's almost dictator-like, autocratic in a way before, because that's what people have been fed. That's what people have seen. Leadership is about that. So people associate leadership with command. So you get people and they get into authority and all they think about is command, direct, do this. They do not understand that leadership, from Jesus' perspective, leadership was about being a servant first. We saw this clearly through the life of Jesus Christ when he chose to wash the disciples' feet. And he spoke and he said that any one of you who wants to be me must be the least of all of you. So Jesus exemplifies leadership as the ability to give yourself for the sake of others. That is leadership. And that's where we need to begin drawing leadership from the standpoint of understanding that leadership is not about you. Leadership has everything to do with the people. It's other people that you want to affect and bring influence towards something. It has to point towards something. It cannot point back at you. It has to point to a common goal. It has to point to a certain achievement. It has to point something. So I think the mistake people have, the misconception people have, is that they associate leadership with positions. And then the other mistake that I think young people also have is that they do not understand what leadership is. The concept of leadership has been sold wrong to a lot of young people. So that's why when we even talk about leadership, people first of all think about government officials, and politicians.
And whatever you start, like everyone is looking at, what do you want? Exactly. What seat do you want?
Exactly.
What position do you want?
Exactly, yes. So demystifying that leadership is nothing.
Not necessarily about that. Holding a position.
Exactly. You are. I believe first. I'm a leader first because I'm a father. Father is a leader.
True.
You have to show leadership at home. Anytime there is no leadership at home, then that's also a mess. When we are doing worship at a church, the people that are the person who's in charge of the media department, that person is a leader. The person who's in charge of the worship, that person is a leader. The person who's in charge of cleaning that is leadership. I mean, leadership is in every facet of your life. You cannot even start equating it to, say, a position of probably a political position of any sort. Although political positions are positions of leadership, but leadership in itself starts from that point. A firstborn is considered a leader because he is the firstborn. So imagine a child who's young is already trusted to leadership. And God shows this even himself when he speaks to Jeremiah. Jeremiah says, I am young. God says, do not say you are young. So God already outrules anything to speak about, because when he's speaking to Jeremiah, he's talking about he will speak to people and nations. So he's pointing to leadership. He did the same thing to Gideon, did the same thing to Joseph, did the same thing again to David, anointing when he was a little boy. So to God, age is not an issue, but leadership is not even a thing of positions. Remember, David was anointed as a young boy. And he remained there, but God already called him a leader. God already called him a king. God already finished with Saul. God already chose a king. But David was about 12 years old. But God is already saying, this is the king. This is the man. So, and David had to wait again. It was a long period. So there was nothing about position there. He still remained a shepherd. He still was required to do things at home. He was still required to take the cows and the goats outside and bring them back home in the evening. He still had to do his normal duties, yet in the eyes of God, he has already appointed him a leader. So it was for David now to understand that he is now a leader and to act accordingly. And by the grace of God, he did. So you see, it's like leadership is nothing to do with title.
You know why I'm smiling? I'm trying to imagine, at this age, and Dawn, you've been told by God, you're the king.
Yes.
Would you still remain in that position of a shepherd?
Exactly.
Just a question, even for our viewer. to ponder, will you still go back to that position when already God has told you, you know what, I'm done with the king, you are the king?
Yes.
I think that is really something we need
It's a
to
very
ponder.
important point, because when you look at it that way, and you look at the context of our generation
Now, yes.
you find there is a bit of also the aspect of pride, of lack of awareness, creates a huge mess also again with leadership, because you find, if like you say, imagine such a prophecy was told to you now, and somebody speaks and says, well,
you're the governor.
God has already said you're going to be the next president of Kenya. So the first thing would be, most people just rise and say, you know what, God has already spoken, me, I'm done, and that's it. I'm a president. But you see, it doesn't work like that. You have to now begin working on yourself, because God speaks in totality. However, his totality is not something that is experienced now. 1,000 years to God is one day, and one day to God is 1,000 years. So God can speak a prophecy about you now, but its manifestation is 50 years from now. But he will speak it as if it is happening today, because one thing about God is that he lives in eternity. Time is not an issue to God. So how do you then again now develop capacities within yourself, so that that which has been spoken over you actually becomes? Is also another thing that people need to understand about leadership, because if you do not understand that there is something that you must do,
there's a process.
Exactly. God has done his part, spoken about you in terms of leadership, and said there is a glorious future for you. But then what do? What is there to be done? Yes. What is there to learn? What skills must you possess? What abilities must you have? You know, there is this thing, and I don't know.
How then do you build your CV, you know?
Exactly. Like, how do you now say, what I have received, how do I now bring it to a point of excellence? Remembering one, God is a God of excellence. So yes, he has called you. He's calling you as a rough diamond. And before you are to be shaped, you have to go through a process. And that process requires that you yourself be able to be in a position to prune yourself, check yourself, make sure that everything that is not according to what he has said is aligned, so that you make sure you get to that glorious state. Because yes, he has spoken, but it's not a guarantee that it will happen.
That's another thing.
Yes, it's not a guarantee that it will happen. It is your own abilities that you have to develop within yourself, so that you can get to that. So that means that there is that which you learn from the Spirit, and then there is that which is knowledge that you just have to learn, capacities that you have to understand,
build,
characteristics, skills, knowledge. What must you read?
Even character.
Exactly. Even relationships. How do you build yourself? How do leaders build themselves?
How do you relate to people?
How do you relate to people? How do I make myself the kind of person that I want to see myself in others? I mean, it has to be something that you deliberately do. And the thing about God is that he's the way I've understood God is that he sits and then he watches. Then he will wait until you actually find yourself. And then when you find yourself, he will begin to partner with you. Meaning, even if it is spoken about you, there is that which you have to do by yourself. And that doing by yourself, then as you do, God will partner with you as you go. So even for leaders, the mistake that we do is that, yes, you have seen you have a capacity to lead. You have a capacity to speak. You have a capacity to do what? How do you build it from there? Some people are just born with a natural ability to speak, but you might find that it is not yet clear. You must be able to, in a position to clear it out. You can also have ability to do something. Make sure you work on it so that it is proper. Another thing that is a mistake that also limits people is that they fear.
Fear.
Yes, they fear. People fear. You fear. If I speak, what will people say? If I say this,
what will happen?
If I do, what will happen? You condition your mind based on what people think, and you limit what is your fears inside of you. So fear is another big mistake that puts people pull people back in leadership, and it is something that it's something of a mindset that needs to change by believing and partnering God for something big.
So Don, have you ever seen yourself in a political leadership position?
Yes. I believe when the time is right, I will be in a position to stand, offer myself and my candidature as someone who wants to see positive change. So I do not know when, but by the grace of God, when God says the time is right now, we shall be in a position to stand up to and be counted. Yes.
Now, you also do mentorship as a leader. How important is mentorship, and how can leaders be intentional about developing others?
Mentorship is highly important. I've had a few mentors in my life, and they are key in developing your capacities. Mentorship should be seen as people who have gone before you and who can help you see the way more clearly. Mentorship is like people who hold somebody else's hand, they're showing you that it is possible. So I believe that mentorship is highly important, especially to building capacities of young people and even the generation that is ahead. Impact, the only way you can do impact is if you align with impact. I believe that everybody who wants to do a certain thing or has a dream or has an ambition has to align with people who have already gone before them so that they can be in a position to learn. Because the Bible says, go to them that sell and buy. So you have to be in a position to know who is this, who's doing this, and then be also proactive enough to approach them. Because this is the most funniest thing about mentors and people that are mentors. Mentors cannot say, we are mentors. We want to mentor you. People who have a form of results in their life, they're usually very kept, but they appreciate a lot when they receive from a younger generation says, can I learn from you? It usually feels like an honor when somebody says, I need to learn from you.
Yeah.
So I think mentorship is important. Mentees, the people that want to be mentored, need to be proactive to approach people who are of sound mind, who have results, and who can be able to move them in the right direction. And then mentors, the way I've largely dealt with mentors is that mentors are people who they are open to give the knowledge, but they need to be approached so that they can give them. So for me, I believe that mentorship is highly important, especially to build capacities. And then there's also mentorship that is peer-to-peer. Your experiences and my experiences. So they develop and they build one another. So that comes from being associative in an environment of people who are like-minded. That builds also mentorship capacities within each other. People that can be your accountability partners, that can help you to grow. Yes.
Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron.
Thank you. So, what advice would you give? You have already spoken of those challenges that young leaders, face today, including fear. What advice would you give to someone who is young and feel, they feel like I've been called into leadership, but they feel inadequate, they feel unqualified? What is that advice that you would give them?
First and foremost, do not disqualify yourself. Believe in yourself. Every day I wake up in the morning, I tell myself, I believe in myself. I've told my children every day before they go to school, I tell them, say, I believe in myself. It is important to put the right mind frame in you as you want to do whatever you want to do. So the capacity to change begins from within you by your mindset. So whatever you look at and say, you know what, I have a calling of leadership upon my life. Maybe it might not be political, maybe it's at the pulpit, or maybe it's whatever it is. The first thing you need to tell yourself is, I believe in myself. Because everything that is created by men was, first of all, an imagination, was a thought. Somebody believed that they could be able to create an iPhone, and that iPhone was created. Somebody believed that they could be able to create a television, and it was created. People believed in themselves, despite the fact that there was fear, there was contradictory noises. So the first thing somebody needs to do is that they need to believe themselves 100%. No fear, just go for it. With time, as you develop yourself and your capacity, you understand that, well, fear is just, it's a projection of things that are not true. But the more you keep telling yourself you believe in yourself, confidence flows within you. The second thing you need to do is that you need to remove any form of distraction, anything that is not associated with your goal. You have to have a burning desire to want to achieve that which you want to achieve. See it within yourself. The desire is very much important because the desire will propel the kind of actions that you want to take. So if you see within yourself you have a desire for leadership, you will have the desire. You put that imagination within yourself. You put even an image within you. Put an image of yourself speaking to many people or doing public speaking. That desire in itself will propel so that the universe will act and make sure that everything that you want concerning that happens.
Aligns.
Yes. So that alignment itself comes from your own imagination. And to imagine is a good thing because, God gave us imagination. If you anything that you see that is within yourself, you did not create it by yourself. God gave it to you. So that means if you can imagine, God imagined. And through imagination, God created the universe. He spoke, He imagined it, and He thought it was good, and then He spoke it to existence, and then it became. So that ability to imagine that you can be a good leader, you can be a wonderful leader, you can be a great leader, you can be an influential leader, you have to put it within yourself and in your mind. I can do this. Then you have believed in yourself. You've put an imagination within yourself. You need to act it out. So what must I do to actually become this version of myself? So you look at your actions, you look at your patterns, you look at your behaviors, you look at your environment, you look at the relationships that you're dealing with. You try to see, is there anything about who I am now getting me to where I want to go? If there are things that are within you that are not getting you where you want to go, easy, you cut them out. You cut out friends, you cut out distractions, you cut out this. I have this thing whereby I'm only on social media when I need to do something on social media. So like for me, Facebook, whenever I post something on Facebook,
that's it.
I delete the app. Until the next day when I need to post something, then I'll post and then I'll delete the app again. I had to make sure that happens because distraction, you can focus yourself on so many things that are random and then you can waste your day. So you need to find a way in which you can sieve through the noise because we are in an age whereby the phones, everything takes your attention.
Your time.
Yeah. So you have to find a way in which you can sieve through the noise so that you can balance on what you need to act on and work on it. So as a person, an advice would be look at the things that are taking up most of your time. If there are things that are taking up most of the time that don't need to be there necessarily, just cut them out. Your time is important. You own your time, you own your future, you own your energy. So you must make sure that you put it aligned. So once you put those steps that make sure that you're acting it out, make sure you also read and develop relationship capacities within yourself because the far that you go is based on how much you know. And the far that you impact is based on who you know. So what you know and who you know is very much important, especially now if you're in a field of leadership. What do you know about leadership? Look at the books about leadership. What are the types of leadership skills that are there? Well, everything to do with leadership, you must be in a position to know so that you can become an authority in that area. What are the communication skills that you need to acquire? What are the relationship skills you need to have? So that then coupled with who you know. Who do you know that is doing something in a relationship? You don't have to know them personally. You can just be even following them. One thing I also do with social media as well, again, another thing that I do is that, social media works with algorithms. So whatever you like is what is consistently placed.
Coming up,
yeah. So if you like vague things appear. So you can be intentional. So you like exactly what you want to see. You like posts on leadership, you like pages on leadership, so the system will understand, okay, Isabella wants to see things on leadership. So that's exactly what, and then you close off any other thing, any other post. If you see this one is just nonsense, you close. It will ask you, you do not want to see one of this, you say yes. So you like only the things that you want to see. So somehow you custom your social media experience. That's what I also do with my Instagram. I usually feed my Instagram when I like only posts on leadership and development. So most times when I wake up in the morning, whenever I'm on Instagram, on social media, the posts that I'll see consistently, the videos that I keep on seeing are videos to do with personal development, leadership, wealth, and the whole feed. So by the time I'm done with the feed, I have read, I have
gained some knowledge.
There's something I've been. I've not just looked at people who are just random like that. I've seen
and laughed. So
exactly, and just laughed, and then somebody has stolen my 30 minutes for nothing. So the other thing is that you have to just be relational and also know how to manage that.
I was going to ask you, how then do you remain grounded? How then do you, in your personal growth, stay grounded? How do you stay refreshed? But you've mentioned a number of things that you do to yourself, especially when it comes to social media, which is quite a big distraction to most people, and not just to say the youth. Maybe the youth can be a bigger percentage, but social media has been a distraction. Even in marriages, even in the workplace, bosses fire people because they are always on their social media. They're always on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. And you've just mentioned one area of how then do you stay grounded, especially on social media, which is a big distraction. Do you have any other areas that you can say, these are areas that I stay put, I stay grounded, I stay refreshed when it comes to me as Dawn being as a leader?
Yeah, prayer. Prayer, I believe prayer is the one thing that can consistently keep you grounded, because it gets overwhelmed as you go through a day. I mean, I'm not 100% every time. There are times you look at what you're doing and just, where is the impact? What am I doing? There's the pressures, family and all of that. So the one place that can get you that revitalization that you require is when you shut it all out and then say, let me pray. And when you go into prayer, you go into prayer in a point of surrender, trying to let God understand that this weight is a responsibility placed upon you, but it is not for you to carry alone. It is for God to assist, because you cannot surely do it. You need help. So prayer has been the one way that keeps me grounded. And for me also, prayer has to be a system that you put in place. I have a system whereby prayer is a night activity. You have to look with God, what is and prayer has to be something that you place either in partnership with the Spirit to understand the time that you're scheduled to do it, so that you align. My times are usually night times. I was told 11:30 at night. So I make sure that I am there. I created a system whereby I am there consistently. So it has already registered in the Spirit that He is here during this time and this time, this day, at this time, He is here. So even for any other person, you need to understand that prayer has to also come in as a system, because you can't only pray when something is wrong or feeling overwhelmed. You need to have, first put it as a system, and then now have it now. Any other time you feel like overwhelmed or you need to pray, then you can pray. But you have to have that personal system. You tell your people, at 6 I have a prayer time. Every time 6 to 7 is my prayer time. That is my system. And then there is now prayer when maybe you're overwhelmed. Oh God, please help me then. Yeah, but prayer is the thing that keeps you grounded.
As we come to a close, Dawn, I want you to look at that camera and you tell our viewer, what is that one leadership lesson that you would want them to take today from this show?
Oh, thank you so much. My viewers, there's one thing I would love for you to take today from all of this discussion is one, have a personal relationship with God. That is your guiding anchor to do what you have to do. A personal walk with God will help you, especially to navigate yourself in the leadership journey, or even just in your journey generally. The second thing you need to do is that you need to work on yourself. If you've not heard any other thing that we have been able to discuss here today, listen to this, that you have to do a personal development. Leadership is the ability for you to be able to, first of all, influence yourself to do the right thing and to meet your goals. So working on yourself is the most important thing that you need to do. I have this quote that I also heard from my mentor, and most people usually speak about how I'll do this for you if you do this for me. But that is very transactional. I'd like to introduce you to something else that requires you to develop yourself. It says, I will take care of me for you if you take care of you for me. So that puts a demand and a request that you need to take care of yourself first so that you can be able to take care of others. And I need to take care of myself first so that I can be able to take care of others. So one requisite is that know God. The second, which is very much important, is work on your personal self. Work hard on yourself more than you can work hard on any other thing or any other person. Fix your character, fix your ways, fix your relationships, fix your habits, fix your mental thinking capacities, fix your mindset. Have a belief pattern that believes you're more than able and you can be able to make it. So even in this year, even if you don't do anything else, make sure you work on yourself, meet your goals, set your targets, and by the time you get to 2026 December and you look back, have a positive report that says, you know what, I started from here, and in this journey, I believe I am here. I've been able to fix this about my finances. I've been able to fix this about my relationship. I've been able to fix this about my environment. I've been able to create these relationships. I can truly say that I was at a low point of the hill, but by December 2026, I'm at a very high point in the hill because I have worked on myself. So I believe that is the most important thing I can leave with you today.
Thank you, Don, for sharing your wisdom and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you.
It has truly been insightful, and your insights have been truly enriching. Thank you. Our dear viewer, thank you for creating time to watch us. I hope that you've been inspired and blessed.